Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Attic of Piedmont Trails. You're watching our monthly live stream. And tonight we are going to be talking about the early roads in Wilkes County. And my name is Carol, and I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me this evening. I want to first take a moment to honor and remember our men and women who sacrificed their lives for our freedom. And today is Memorial Day, and I'd like to take a moment to thank them for their services. Because of them, we would not be able to be here today. So they deserve our honor and our utmost respect. Before I get into tonight's presentation, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me. Thank you so much. We really enjoy doing these live streams and making videos when we can for YouTube. Um, and sharing various articles and stuff on the website. But there's a couple of things that I think I need to clear up this evening. And first of all, let me share my deepest apology for not being able to go live yesterday afternoon or yesterday evening. I was in the middle of ground research work and I was unable to um, get that completed in time to go live and spend the evening with you all guys. And Charles says hi to me. Thanks for the presentation. Thank you, Charles, for joining me this evening. So I do want to apologize for not being available for you guys yesterday. But there are a few things that I'd like to say before we get started with tonight's live stream. And one of them is we are I am not in any way teaching or about genealogy or history. That's not the purpose of Piedmont Trails. The purpose of creating Piedmont Trails was sharing our journey with all of you. That's important. It's important to us because it's important to the discoveries that I have made all through the past years of researching. I felt it was important to pass on that information with all of you. It's not whether to say that, all of it is correct, or if I pronounce words correctly, or if I maybe offer a definition that may be not correct in someone else's eyes, or that if I'm actually teaching. I'm not teaching. I am simply sharing my journey to the past with all of you. Another thing is I don't have to do this. Um, I do this out of my own free will. I don't get anything in return. I don't ask for anything. Any expenses or upkeep or time that is spent on researching or answering your questions, answering your emails, helping you along, is simply done out of us wanting to share that information of what we know with all of you. And sometimes people can say in not very nice things on social media platforms, and that's fine. The world is not a perfect place. It never will be. And that's fine. But I just felt like, ever since our last live stream with the release of the information through the Great Wagon Road Project, and we've also getting ready to release a ton of information with our Colonial Indentured Servants Project. And sometimes people can be, I wanted to use the correct word, demanding. When is it going to be released? When are you going to tell us this information? When are you going to answer my email? When are you going to get back to me? And the list can go on and on and on. In fact, tonight, right before I came on, I had a visitor to pay a visit to one of my videos saying, if you're going to teach about bison or buffalo, you need to say the word correctly. Well, buffalo in the dictionary is buffalo or bison. It's irrelevant. What we're trying to do here is to share our journey with you. Um, if you're not interested in that, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. We ran into this same scenario at times on Facebook chat on when we went live on it, and then Facebook on due to their connections, and it kept going into error whenever we go into live stream. We weren't able to answer questions, and that was one of the main reasons why we left Facebook because of technical difficulties and some of the people that were involved in and their actual comments and what they said. It wasn't very nice. I've always tried to be very nice to you guys and very courteous and kind. And I just want you to know I'm not here to teach you guys. I'm not the teacher. I am your friend. Every time when I come on with a podcast, I always say, "This is your friend Carol," and I am your friend. I'm not always going to guide you in the right direction, but I will share with you my opinions of what I think um, about early roads, about researching in genealogy. I will share with that, and I will help you to the best of my ability. But Piedmont Trails by no means is here to teach anyone. We have never, ever said that we pretended to be an expert in any of the subjects or topics that we have ever discussed. We just want to share the journey, and we love to hear the feedback from you. So I feel better. I feel better that I've said that. We've received a lot of feedback over the Great Wagon Road project during the past 30 days since our last live stream. And a lot of it's been positive and some of it hasn't. And we are in no way, we don't even have to ever release that information. I can go ahead and finish my presentation and I can submit it and apply for National Historic Trail recognition and just be done with it. I wouldn't never have to share it with anyone. I'm not obligated to do that. Then there's another thing about sharing screens. We are new on YouTube, so we're limited on some of the features that YouTube has. We're brand new. We had, I think, 1,320 subscribers. So as you gain more subscribers, you begin to have more features that are attached with YouTube. Also, someone had sent me an email saying, you would think that you would have the capability of sharing the screen instead of holding up a piece of paper and expecting people to see it. Well, that requires an encoder, which I currently do not have. And I would need some guidance on how to operate. I'm just now trying to learn how to operate a drone. So you might as well say, to be truthful, I'm old school. Okay, so it takes me a little while between all of my research. You can see the stack of books here. I'm constantly researching and answering emails. I'm doing the best that I can. So, okay, we're going to let that go with that. Scotty says, I greatly appreciate your website, and thank you, Scotty. And I greatly appreciate each and every one of you that tune in to our live streams, watch our videos, visit our website. I greatly, greatly appreciate each and every one of you. And many of you have become very good friends with me, and I know who you are. JL says from Winston-Salem. Oh, Jay, I remember you, Jay. It's good to see you on here tonight. Happy you're sharing with us, he says. And Beverly says, Carol, thank you so much for sharing your journey. Thank you, Beverly, for joining the journey with me. And Rowan Mountain Survivors is on here and says, hi, y'all. Hello. All right, we're going to get started with tonight's, what I've got prepared for you guys. I said during the description that I'm going to give you 5 examples of land deeds, and land grants that in their descriptions prove some of these early roads. And yes, I'm going to show up pieces of paper. So until I get the encoder and learn how to operate and learn how to share screen, yes, I will be doing that. I want to offer examples and show you guys. The reason why I share a lot of these land deeds and grants is because I'm trying to encourage you to look deeper into them and to look deeper into the early roads. Look deeper into the early businesses of your ancestors' time period. And to also look deeper into the descriptions of the land deeds themselves. I feel, my personal opinion is this, I feel like this type of research is overlooked. And like used to a couple years ago, I really stressed hard about the early church records and how important they really are. It's these types of records that can offer so much more detail about your ancestors, and you can get to learn them a whole lot more. They can be much more than just names and dates. That's one of the main reasons why I even began Piedmont Trails was to share that importance. I wanted everybody to know their ancestors as well as I feel like I know some of mine. Um, it's an amazing journey and it's fascinating to learn. And you can see yourself emerge too more as an individual. You can see where maybe you have a certain hobby and you found out that your grandmother may have had the same hobby or she liked that. And you can kind of see the traits that continue to live on and are passed on from one generation to another. And now let's see, KLR, her message was retracted. Okay, so Cheryl says, I appreciate all you share. Well, thank you. And KLR says, you do an amazing job. Keep up the good work. Thank you. And Jay says, I must be old school, older school. He says, I don't even know what this encoder thing is. I can see your paper just fine with full screen mode. Okay, well, great. An encoder is a type of streaming software that you need to have in order to share your screen. You can also alter your voice. You can have different backgrounds. You can do all kinds of different things with it. I have not purchased one yet. I'm in shopping mode, so to speak. I'm learning more about them. But you do need that in order to be able to go live, such as on YouTube, or in order to share your screen. Now, I can go live on like Google. I'm set up to go like to go do a Google webinar. I can do that and set up on a scheduled meeting, which I have done those in the past with the Great Wagon Road Project. We do those all the time. And you can actually share your screen there, and it has live chat, and people can send personal messages to each other and carry on conversations, and that works great. But you can't use that on YouTube. You have to have an encoder. So it's all good. I'm still learning about the drone, so to finish up the presentation for the Great Wagon Road Project. But it's all good. Everything works out to the good. It really does. All right, so let's get started with Wilkes County. Y'all, I'm sure everybody is fully aware that Wilkes County was formed in 1778, but before it was even formed, there were people, different families who were applying for land grants in the area and in western mountains of North Carolina. Before Wilkes became a county, it was located in Rowan County, and finally they split Rowan pretty much in two. Um, so Wilkes was extended over into the western mountains of North Carolina and included Ashe County, Allegheny, Mitchell, Watauga, and Avery County. Um, some reports say that, since Rowan County carried over to the Mississippi River, then technically the Wilkes County carried over to the Mississippi River too, but that's not technically true. However, Ashe County, portions of Ashe County were involved with the state of Franklin, because Washington County in Tennessee was a county during this time that Wilkes County was established. So you've got those years too where certain things were going on with the state of Franklin, but make no mistake, Wilkes County was the legal county for that area up until they divided it again into those separate counties. So what was the first wagon road in present day Wilkes County? Well, you got to think in terms of colonial roads and paths and trails and what they mean. So I always define a wagon road as a road that can accommodate a wagon. And I think that first road was from the New River and traveled southward to Mulberry Fields, which is present day Wilkesboro, and then it traveled east from there. I think that Christopher Gist created this road. This was a road that was led to most of the mining camps that were all along the New River area. And he also created the road that traveled up past Ararat River, Fisher River, went up towards Salem, Virginia, and into Roanoke. This road also extended into the Town Fork Road that crossed over into Stokes County. So it continued east. So I think the road was created from the New River area up in Ashe County, and then it came down into Wilkes County. And it was Mulberry, and later was referred to as the Mulberry Fields Road. I think that was technically the first road. Now, make no mistake, I do believe that there were at least two trading paths that traveled in through Wilkes. I think one of them was the Catawba um, Well, I don't think it necessarily had a name, but it connected to the Catawba trading path or portions of the Kiowa Trail. And it traveled into Wilkes coming from the south. And I also think that another trading path traveled all along through the Virginia line and North Carolina line, Occoneechee Trail. There was a huge Native American tribe that settled in Mulberry Fields, and this was recorded in the Moravians' diary when they were learning how the lands were and trying to pick out which lands appealed to them. They almost wanted to pick Mulberry Fields, and they saw this huge tribe of Native Americans, and they decided to go further east after they had traveled up to Blowing Rock and was scoping out all the lands. So there is documentation of these Native Americans living in that area in the year of 1751, 1752. All right. And like I said, Christopher Gist, he was very, very important in this area, in the Wilkes County area, and on over to the Dan River area in North Carolina. And like I said, Wilkes County had many paths and trails that later formed into roads. And, Highway 18 is one of them. This was a famous trading path. A great majority of Highway 18 covers one of the original trails that was a trading path. And 16 is another older route. So let's see how many other roads we can come up with. And I don't want to leave out Flower Gap Road either, which Flower Gap Road did travel through Wilkes County too. That is an early older route. And I'll look up periodically and try to read your comments, you guys, and answer your questions the best that I can. These examples are from road land deeds. So the first one I'm going to give is the road. I may not pronounce this correctly. Okay, I'm going to give you a heads up. I may not pronounce it correctly, so I'll spell it. Okay, the road near Reddings River, Redddies, Reddings River. This waterway flows for about 10, 12 miles approximately. And this is the waterway that was part of a big flume system that transported lumber into Wilkesboro during the early 1900s. You guys may have heard of it. The flume system suffered horrific damage during the 1916 flood, and then they never rebuilt it, but you can see remnants of it today. If you can, I think there's an actual path or trail you can take right off of near the Yadkin River there where the Reddings River joins it, and you can just walk right up it and see portions of where the flume system was. The actual road that began here back early started at the Yadkin River, and the old Wilkesboro Road, or Gistas Road as it was referred to then. Today, remnants of an old Ford crossing are still visible about a tenth of a mile west of Osborne Sunset Drive. That's Osborne Sunset Drive in Wilkesboro. Osborne Sunset Drive ends in a dead end. When you get to that dead end, you're about a tenth of a mile away from the Ford crossing. But if you gain permission to walk further past the road, you will see how a wagon Ford crossing looks today. It's very wide, and it's a shallow portion there too of the river. But that was definitely at one time a wagon crossing. We know that the road crossed in this area due to the land survey conducted for George Gordon in 1778. Now, there's no, from my eyesight, there's no remnants of this road today. Many think that portions of that trail that walks up to where you can walk alongside of the river, it may be remnants of the road, but my opinion, it's not. I don't see that. But it could be. George Gordon owned 200 acres on both sides of the road as it crossed his property. And you can find this in Deed Book 100, page 67. By 1813, the road has a name, and then by that time they refer to it as Reddings River Road. This is also verified by the 1808 survey performed by James Kilby. He was issued 100 acres on November 24th, 1813, on the east side of Reddings River Road. That's in Deed Book 128, page 117. The old North Carolina State Highway 16 travels near this road, but I don't see any present-day roads following any portion of the original route. If you guys know different, please let me know because I'd love to know. Road number 2 is the road near Kings Creek. This is located approximately 15 miles southwest of Wilkesboro. This early road traveled through Moravian Falls to Lenoir. A gentleman by the name of Mr. Cox owned 400 acres near the road in 1779. You can find this in Deed Book 39, page 29. Mr. Cox lived close to the Weatherspoon family. I'm not sure if any of you guys have heard of the Weatherspoons, but they were very well known in the Wilkes County area. They was also neighbors of James Martin and John Beverly, and these two gentlemen were the chain carriers during the survey. Highway 18 follows close to the road mentioned in the deed for Mr. Cox and also for the Weatherspoon deeds. During the Civil War, the main road split at Warrior Creek, and it took a more southerly route following the southern base of the Brushy Mountain in that area. And I do have a copy of Cox, and yes, I'm going to hold this paper up, and I'll probably get feedback on this big time tomorrow. Here we go. Okay, so this is Mr. Cox's survey. It was surveyed in 1779. This is book 39, page 29, and you can see here's the road that traveled through his property. Okay. All right. The next road is near Fisher's Creek. Now, today it's not called Fisher's Creek. This waterway today is known as Fishing Creek, and it meanders Old Highway 60, until it joins Fishing Creek Road. Well, Abraham Hunt owned 100 acres, and he lived along a wagon road. This is found in Deed Book 39, page 62. The western side of Hunt's property bordered the road. By 1864, the main road had shifted to the west. So here is Hunt's. Yeah, Abraham Hunt. Now, the road is here. See how they have surveyed his side of his property? This is how the road ran. His road bordered. This is a waterway. This is Warriors Creek. Fishes Creek. And this is the road. And this is an 1864 map showing the same area. And I'm going to give you reference to this map so you guys can look it up. But you can actually pull it up on the Library of Congress, and it will give you details of the early roads in 1864 in Wilkes County and in the Western Mountains of North Carolina. It's an extraordinary map. Fourth example is the road leading from Moravian Creek. John Greer Sr. This is a very early family. They owned several tracts of land in this particular area along Moravian Creek. But one particular tract consisted of 247 acres, including both sides of a road in 1779. You can find it in Deed Book 49, page 153. Now, survey for Mr. Greer was conducted in 1780, and the road is mentioned in his deed. But let me show you why I don't like his survey, because it's just blank. There has no description of anything on there. This is done by several people who are surveying land grants during this time period in this area. I won't mention their names, but we don't like them because they don't offer any description. I mean, if you see a survey like that, what would you say would be the reasoning for it? It's just a box. I mean, you don't even have descriptions or anything. You don't have directions. So you have to refer to the deed for all your measurements and everything. It doesn't, I like the surveyors who give you details. There was one deed that I found many years ago. He even placed certain trees. He placed rock formations where a rock tower was, and we found portions of that rock corner, stacks of rocks still there. So that was amazing. So yeah, we love that survey. Okay. But Highway 16 is part of where Greer's property was located. And the last example that we have is the trading road. This is William McGill's deal, a deed dated from 17 July 7th of 1779. And you can find this in Deed Book 42, page 74. And it points out two important features of Wilkes County. And you guys, I'm hoping you can help me on this last one. The first of the feature is a trading road. They refer to it as a trading road in 1779. And that this particular route was established over 30 years before McGill applied for his land grant. This is part of one of the early trading routes that leads from the south into Wilkes County. Okay. The second feature describes in this deed is as a stake. This as a stake is placed in Rich Blood's field. Rich Blood's field. And I'm going to write this in the chat, because if you guys know anything about this, I'd love to hear from you. Because when I first read that they refer to an open field as Rich Blood's field, the first thing that hit my mind was that, okay, now a battle took place here. But I've never heard of that. Okay, this must be with Cleveland. But, because Cleveland referred to, he had a cleared, free of timber field on his property where he killed a lot of people during the American Revolutionary War. That's all I'm going to say. We all know the history of Benjamin Cleveland. If you don't, then I urge you to look it up. But then Cleveland's property was nowhere near where Mr. McGill's property is located. So, in fact, Cleveland's is more in Ashe County. So what is going on with Rich Blood's field? Okay, McGill's property borders Benjamin Elledge, and McGill's property was located near Warriors Creek and the Brushy Mountain area in that area. So but what about the trading route? Okay, this route ran in a north to south direction from the Catawba Nation along the South Carolina border in the 1730 decade. It was a path, a horse trail. It reached the Sapona village at Mulberry Fields, and John Lawson refers to the Sapona village in his journal that's dated in 1709. So we know approximately that how long the village was there. As to the Rich Blood's field, let me know what you know about the story behind it. We know there's a story behind it. It can't be the site of Cleveland's old field because it was located in the southeastern sections of Ashe County, nowhere near Warriors Creek. So I do have a copy of McGill's survey, and it shows the trading route, which they refer to it in the survey as the main road, and it travels right through here through McGill's property. McGill's property is along Warriors Creek. Warriors Creek is just south of present-day Wilkesboro. Not far. It's not very far. It's just south of Wilkesboro. So if you have any more information about what happened at Rich Blood's field and why it was referred to that in 1779, I would love to know. I checked all of my folders and files and resources during the American Revolutionary War, and I could not find anything. I do know that there were several Native American expeditions, especially during the Cherokee expeditions, the Cherokee Wars in the late 1750 decade into early 1760s, but I still could not find a reference in that particular area that referenced anything about Rich Blood's field or Rich Blood fields. Okay. Yeah, I want to get you guys, that was my 5 examples, and I want to share just a few other things with you to encourage you to learn more about the roads. And the why is because the roads always lead to the people. People change and they move from place to place. They don't always live in the same place. Something may happen to the property, or they may sell it, and they may move a little further away. You won't realize that. Maybe, in census records, once censuses are taken, then you would, but early days, you're not going to know that. So start with land deeds and really start investigating who borders who, and start piecing the puzzles together. And you can see how a community is formed by piecing all these land grants and parcels together next to your ancestor. If you're working in more of a 19th century or 20th century, and you're starting to learn some of your family, you want to learn more about the the details of the roads and how things worked in that certain time frame, I've got some ideas I want to share with you that I've always loved to look into further. And that is in newspapers. If you look into newspapers and the voting precincts, these precincts and these polling places would change, especially during the early 20th century, and they go in detail. They give you exactly where the precincts start and where they end, what streets they start on, what roads they leave off on. So I wanted to give you an example. This is dated in for September of 1920 for Wilkes County. Precinct number 1, beginning at the mouth of Bugaboo Creek and running down the Yadkin River to the Wilkes County line, then a north course with Surry County line to the north bank of the Elkin and Trap Hill Road, where said road crosses the Wilkes and Surry County line. Thence a northwest course with the north bank of said road to the intersection of the Tucker and Trap Hill roads, south of Tom Swain's residence. This is in 1920, and it gives you details of what roads are available on this side facing Surry County from Wilkes County, and it also names a residence. It names Tom Swain, where he lived. So it keeps going further, and it says, north bank of the Tucker Road to the crossing of said road by the Little Mountain Road. Okay, there's another one. Thence westerly with the north bank of the Dimmitt Mill Road, now Tharpe. So let me spell that. It's Dimmette, Mill, but now has changed into the hands of Tharpe, and that is Tharpe. So that gives you history on this mill. To the intersection of the Rhonda and Lomax Road. Now we're more, I think, in Yadkin County, which in that or going towards that area. East bank of the Rhonda and Lomax to the Frank Tharpe Old Store Place at the crossroads. Okay, now we found out about a store owned by Frank Tharpe, Tharpe. It continues on the north bank or the road to Bugaboo Creek, a few feet below Burcham's Mill. Then down Bugaboo Creek to the beginning. The polling place shall be in Rhonda at a convenient place near the post office. That you can just simply get all of the precincts were, if they were changed, they had to be published in a newspaper. They had to be published in a newspaper. Also, when the Jefferson Turnpike, the Wilkesboro-Jefferson Turnpike was coming about on the early 1900s, it was a huge deal. And if you had ancestors that lived in Wilkes County, they were affected by it. They knew about it. I'm sure they had opinions about it. There were petitions flying around with possibly your ancestor's name on it, where they did not like it, did not want it, didn't want anything to do with it, or they 110% supported it. It was on the front page of the Wilkes County. I think there was 2 newspapers. Patriot was one of them, and I can't think of the other one during that time frame. But it was front page news for months. They referred to it. Well, they didn't know how they were going to actually keep this road graded during that time frame and travel into Ashe County from that side of Wilkes and travel into it and keep it graded and not have it so steep. And many of the people that were living along the route said it was just going to be a typical wagon road, and they referred to it as a wagon road. And then one newspaper, who was the competitor of the Wilkes Patriot, and I'm sorry, I just can't remember their name, but they were going against the other newspaper, saying, well, we never said it would be a wagon road. We said it would be a paved road. But at first it wasn't. It was gravel, of course. But that's a fascinating time period to learn about the local petitions and the people who actually were for it and against the road, and then to learn how the road was constructed. And another important, I thought was fascinating feature was that I recently acquired a map of dated 1899 for North Carolina, and I'll just show it to you. I've got it sitting right here. It's a little pocket, a best pocket map of North Carolina. These were popular, but I never knew that they had these this early. This one dates to 1899. And it shows the reason why these maps were made was to show roads and communities and small towns and cities and how to get about. So it's fascinating. But on that map, there was showing a toll bridge crossing the Yadkin River in Wilkesboro. And it was in operation from 1891 until 1899, a toll bridge. How many of you guys knew that? So I'm just curious. I don't know how much it costs to cross the bridge, but I'd like to know. I'd like to know what was the price of that. Other points of interest, and so that got me started into researching more about the year 1918 in Wilkes County. So I started researching more, and then I found things that were kind of interest to me. The Leather Hinge School, the Pumpkin Creek School, the Goshen Holdman Bridge, Kilby Store, Kilby Store, Pearson Store. I loved all these. Growing up, I used to love going into these little old country stores in Surrey County and Stokes County, where my grandparents lived in Surrey County. And I just loved going into those old stores and seeing what all they had. Pearson Store, Horton Mill near Fair Plains, Mountain View Institute, Communities of Chuckle and Zebra. They were named communities. Miners Ridge School, Pole Bridge Gap, Garden Creek School near Stone Mountain. I found all of these places fascinating to learn more about. Brian says, and Stuart says, hi. Hi, Stuart. And Brian says, Carol, I haven't totally disappeared. I haven't been catching you live. Cancer raised its ugly head again. I'm doing much better, though. I'm so sorry to hear about that, Brian. I'll keep you in my special prayers, and may all things go well with you and your family. Okay, let's see, it was one more thing. Let me look here. That was fascinating to me. And it's a little picture of the Opera House in North Wilkesboro. This is where people voted during the year 1920. They met at the Opera House. All right, you guys. I was going to mention a few other early roads in Wilkes County. One was Turkey Knob Road. Turkey Knob Road leading into Virginia is a very old road. That is also an older road. I didn't provide deeds for you guys for that, but it is an older road. Highway 93 traveling by Piney Creek, and also dates to the late 18th century. These early routes are also entry points into North Carolina, just like Flower Gap Road was coming in through Surrey County from Virginia. I didn't mention Boone's Trace, but Boone's Trace is also visible in Wilkes County. I believe Daniel Boone traveled to the western mountains of North Carolina often, and as often as he could, and further into Tennessee and Kentucky to hunt and trap and explore, because that's what he loved to do. And that's no secret, and I'm glad that we are able to know that about him. I think Daniel Boone used the paths that were available to him to reach his destination, and I believe Mulberry Fields Road and Gist Road, Christopher Gist's Road, was among them that he traveled on. And I want to share my sources. My sources tonight are North Carolina land deeds in Wilkes County, and that map that I showed you portions of. Go to the Library of Congress website. It is the Millard Fillmore map of Western North Carolina. It dates to 1864. And that's Millard Fillmore map of Western North Carolina, dating 1864. I also used Henry Mosen's map of North and South Carolina, dated 1775, because it shows the Mulberry Fields Road during that particular time period, or his version of where the road traveled, and then the location of Christopher Gist's home site, his first cabin, which was located in Wilkes County. That is all that I have for you guys tonight. We haven't released the names on the Colonial Indentured Servants Project yet, but we will when time allows us to do so. We will do that. And we've also updated the Great Wagon Road Project's website page, but we have not added the map or the surnames or our resources yet, but we will do that when time allows us to do that. And our next live stream will be on June the 25th That's on a Sunday, hopefully, if all things go well, at 7:30. And I have no idea what we'll talk about. Maybe we'll let you guys, I'll just be real quiet and I'll just let you guys talk on here and you can tell me and share your journey with me. Rowan Mountain Survivor says, thank you for all you do. I have to go, but I'm trying to do at least 2 hours a week listening to you. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for saying that. I'm learning a lot, but just getting started. Well, thank you so much for joining us. All right, you guys, I'm going to let you go, and I want to thank you so much for all of your support. Those of you that I have grown to know over the past several years, I really cherish each and every one of you. I really do. I care about you guys, and I hope that you experience good treasures along your journey to the past, and I wish each and every one of you well. Brian, I'll keep you in my prayers for this coming week and every day moving forward until you let me know that things are fine. And may you enjoy your journey to the past, everyone, and God bless.